Alright, good morning, afternoon, and or evening, ladies and gentlemen. Here it is very clearly night, so maybe I'm breaking my own rules, but hey, back at you again with another video. This is, how should I put it? Episode 2.5 of the 99 Championship Series. Oh, I say 99 Championship. 1999 Super Bowl Series. And well, it's an apology video, to be real. I know I forgot to start the video off with the, and it's really hard to talk about, but I did mess up my lighting for this video. I turned it like super blue and exposed just to piss some people off, but if you watched my last video, you would know that I meant this as an apology to the one, the only Orlando Pace, who I just completely forgot to mention in my video about the St. Louis Rams of that era. And so, without further ado, my bad, man, roll the intro. I don't really have a good intro right now, but on this channel I like to talk sports. Orlando Lamar Pace was, sadly, not born in Orlando, Florida. In fact, his hometown is Sandusky, Ohio, where he and his sister were raised by his mother and grandmother. Pace was a very, very large child, of course, and as such was recruited into sports from an early age. Of course, playing football on both the offensive and defensive lines at the youth level. He actually very much disliked playing football first growing up, because he wasn't seeing any of the flash or recognition. He didn't get all the glory that was afforded to the skill positions that really isn't and never will be afforded to those guys in the trenches. But shout out to them. You keep the quarterbacks upright or keep the quarterbacks on the ground, whichever side of the ball you play. One thing, though, was very, very clear to everyone that watched a young Pace play. His future was bright, star-shiningly so. One of the people that was impressed by his performances back in the 8th grade was Larry Cook, who was the football coach at Sandusky High School, which was the, of course, regional school that Pace would end up going to. Pace's strength and speed were absolutely astronomical for a kid of his size, but what stood out to Cook the most was his body control being at an insanely good level, even though at this time he was only around 13. Everyone knew that this kid would be special, and when he got into high school, he proved all of them right. Pace's high school career is closer to myth and legend than anything else. He played both offensive and defensive linemen while also starting at center on their basketball team. Apparently, even though he was almost 300 pounds at the time, he had a wet jumper, which is always fun to hear about. Pace bulldozed his way through his high school football career, and in fact was a high school All-American in his senior year. Colleges were absolutely clamoring for this kid. Recruitment letters flying in, recruiters flying in. All of them wanted to see possibly one of the greatest O-line prospects ever. Pace would have the final say in everything. The decision would come down to him. And in fact, two things were important to Pace in his selection process. One, he wanted to go to a big-name school to increase his chances of, the NFL seeing him. And two, playing time, almost immediately. And in fact, one name slowly began to surface, and then rised up to the top of that. And in fact, that one name was a very, very local and well-known one. The Ohio State University. In the year of 1994, Orlando Pace's college career would begin, as he made his selection, of course being Ohio State. Now, with all of the greatness that came in his high school days, plus all the things that would come in his NFL career, possibly the greatest and most impactful portion of Orlando Pace's career came in his college days. For one, he would be a starter in his freshman year, which for Ohio State is almost unheard of. He was only the second ever true freshman to start for the university. After absolutely dominating in literally the first day of preseason camp, he would be named the starter at left tackle. There was just no other option. And in some ways, he would almost exceed the lofty expectations that were already on him. Pace would steamroll his way through most of the competition. Because of Pace's size, speed, and athleticism, He would be subbed in as a D lineman in the red zone as well, and also play on the field goal block team. Ohio State would go 12-4 that year and lose to Alabama in the Citrus Bowl. Pace would finish off his first season being named Big Ten Freshman of the Year. 1995 would be an even better year for Pace. Pace would win the Lombardi Award, be an All-American first-teamer, and not let up a single sack in his entire sophomore season. Ohio State's offense was nuclear high-powered that year, averaging 499 yards a game and scoring 475 points in that entire season, mainly due to Pace's dominance in both the run and pass games. Ohio State would go 11-1 that year and lose in the Citrus Bowl again, this time to Tennessee. However, though, the impact was felt. The world was put on notice. And in fact, this is where the term pancake block really began to permeate into the mainstream media. Now, let's get one thing perfectly clear. The term pancake being used as when an offensive lineman runs over a defender, it's been around for a very, very long time, much longer than pace. Nebraska fans, you better not hate me. I can see you sharpening those axes right now. However, most of the time, by most other coaches, it was known simply as a knockdown block. Pace, though, brought the term pancake to a whole new level. Because pace was simply, to use a term that is way too overused on Twitter, built different. So much so that Ohio State released their own brand of syrup and had a pancake counter on their scoreboard in home games, tallying up Pace's blocks. By the way, Pancake should be an official stat for O-linemen, and I can and will die on that hill. And that was all in his sophomore year. We haven't even gotten to his junior year yet. This was one of the greatest individual seasons in college football history, and I am not even exaggerating. Pace would not let up a single sack again. He would win the Lombardi Trophy again, being the first player ever to repeat the award, win the Outland Trophy that year as well, be the Big Ten Player of the Year, and finish fourth in Heisman voting as an offensive lineman. I don't think many people really understand the magnitude of that level of dominance, that the Heisman Trophy, an award that's usually voted to just a quarterback, sometimes a running back, or in the most recent case, Devontae Smith, a receiver, almost went to an offensive lineman because of how dominant Pace was. According to Ohio State's scoreboard tally, as a total for the year, Pace had 80 pancakes. Ohio State, in that super high-powered offense, would go 11-1. They would be the number 2 team in the nation and beat Arizona in the Rose Bowl. Pace would declare for the NFL draft after his junior year, because after a performance like that, there was absolutely no reason for him to go back to Ohio State. Not only was Pace so dominant in his college career, the fact that he was also hyper-athletic and 6'7", 325 pounds also stood out to most NFL scouts. Pace was, simply put, one of the greatest O-line prospects ever. He would go down as one of college football's GOATs. Even though he had only declared for the NFL draft 2 years prior and only played for a little bit of the last decade, he would be named to college football's All-Century team by Sports Illustrated. He would be inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame in 2013 as well. After trading with the New York Jets for the pick, the St. Louis Rams held the first overall selection in 1997, and with it would of course select Orlando Pace. Wow, shocker, I know. He was the first offensive lineman to be taken number 1 overall since Ron Yary in 1968. However, he instantly got in it with his new team, as there were contract disputes, as there usually always were before the fixed rookie salaries. He would turn down a 7-year, $23 million deal from the Rams because of the lack of any signing bonus. Pace would hold out from the entirety of training camp and missed the first 3 games of the season before finally agreeing to a 7-year, $25 million contract with a $6.2 million signing bonus. His first start would only be in week 4 of that year against the Oakland Raiders, and not having a preseason camp, plus all the distractions in the offseason, people really wondered, was he going to live up to the hype? And he absolutely did. He delivered. He did not let up a sack in that game and was an absolute mauler against both the run and the pass, and the Rams ended up winning the game. Lance Johnstone, who was the Oakland defensive end that had to go up against him for most of the game, had this to say about him in the post-game presser, quote, "Big dude, man. I couldn't bull rush him, but he's got such quick feet I couldn't get around him either." Pace's rookie year was dominant, and there would be no sophomore slump. Not at all. After missing all of training camp and showing up late his rookie year, Pace made sure that would not happen again. He said he was in the best shape since his high school days, being down to only 308 pounds, and came ready to play. Coach Dick Vermeil threw in his own vote of confidence about Pace, saying in an interview with Sports Illustrated, "If he isn't the best left tackle in football in the next 2 years, I'd be shocked." In '98, Pace would start all 16 games and be a Pro Bowl alternate. Then, '99. I have already sung the praises about the greatest show on turf on offense, but all of it started with that offensive line and Pace. Out of 994 possible snaps, he played 896 of them that year. He was named to the first team All-Pro and made the Pro Bowl. And of course, the Rams would go on to win a ring. Despite the already fantastic performance in '99, 2000 would be even better. The Rams again had the most passing yards in a season in league history, Pace being the anchor for that. He would play 1,006 offensive snaps that year and not miss a start for the 3rd year in a row and made the Pro Bowl again. He was one of 3 Rams offensive linemen that year that were not penalized for holding the entire season, the other 2 being the other tackle, Ryan Tucker, and the center, Andy McCullum. They wouldn't go far in the playoffs, though, being bounced after only 1 game. 2001, the Rams would be back to form. Pace started all 16 games again, did not miss a single snap, and would make the Pro Bowl and first team All-Pro again. The Rams would go all the way back to the Super Bowl, but lose to the Patriots, starting a certain dynasty that plagued the NFL for 20 years. In 2002, he missed 6 games on the year, but still made a Pro Bowl, his 4th in a row. The Rams, though, would go 9-7 and get bounced in the wild card. In 2003, Pace's 7-year deal was up, and he ended up getting into another lengthy holdout. He would sign a 1-year, $5 million deal and reported back at the end of training camp. He still certainly delivered, another All-Pro selection and Pro Bowl, with the Rams offense averaging 27 points a game. The team would go 8-8, beat the Seahawks in the wild card, but were blown out by the Falcons in the divisional. 2004 would be another holdout year after that 1-year deal was up, and he would miss almost all of training camp again. He would end up agreeing to the franchise tag and having a tender placed on him, but Pace was still Pace. Everyone, say it with me now, started all 16 games, Pro Bowl. They would make the wild card again, but lose in the divisional again. In 2005, with the franchise tag now up, Pace would almost leave the Rams as he was exploring another deal with the Houston Texans. However, the Rams still had tender over him and demanded 2 first-round picks as compensation. However, later in the offseason, Pace would agree to a 7-year, $52 million deal with the Rams. In '05, though, he would start all 16 games again and make his 7th Pro Bowl, tying him for only 4th in Rams history. Sadly, though, that would be the last year he would ever start every game again. The sunset of Pace's career would begin after the 2005 season, as injuries began to mar his performances and drag him down, leading him towards the road of retirement. In 2006, he would start 8 games before tearing a tricep against Seattle, which ended his season. Then, in 2007, his season would be over after only 1 game. A myriad of problems caused by a shoulder injury would see him sidelined for the entire year. In 2008, he would only miss 2 games with injury, but the Rams were 2-14 on that year. Because he had shown injury problems and the fact that he was now 33 years old, the Rams decided to let him go, cutting him after the season. Pace would go sign with the Chicago Bears after that on a 3-year, $15 million deal. He Yeah, it was not fantastic. He would only play in 11 games in 2009, missing several due to a groin injury, but then once the Bears' playoffs hopes were dead, he would be benched in favor of rookie left tackle Chris Williams. After that year, the Bears would release him. And on March 1st, 2010, Orlando Pace would retire from football. And in 2016, he would be elected into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. A 7-time Pro Bowler and 5-time first team All-Pro, and member of the 2000s All-Decade team. Orlando Pace, the Pancake Man, one of the all-time greats at the offensive line position in NFL history. No, scratch that. Football history. The Pancake Man racked up an illustrious career that few could ever hope to even get a smidge of in their careers. And, well, yeah, that's all I really need to say on the matter. His dominance was unmatched, and I'm sorry for not mentioning you with the rest of the greatest show on turf. And with that, this concludes the video. I'd like to thank you all for watching. I really thought I was going to upload more consistently in 2021, but hey, this is a hobby, not a job, so, you know what, I guess I apologize, but at the same time, I don't know if y'all mess with me like that. So, yeah, well, that's whatever. Okay, part 3 or 4, however you want to look at it, should be coming sooner. It's about the climax and aftermath of the '99 Super Bowl, and then I'll move on to other things. And, well, before my DSLR stops recording after its prerequisite 30 minutes. Deuces.